Today's topic is movies released on the same day.
Ooh.
I have a list of about 15-ish movies. I'll be reading them off to Mac. And what I'll be asking you for, Mac, is who won the weekend? Who had the better box office weekend? Who had the better box office through their entire run at said time? Let's say original time. And then also, who do you think has the bigger and longer cultural impact between the two movies?
Okay, that third question seems more reasonable because the first two seems like the number value would tell you who the winner was, no?
Yeah, no. Like the first one is just you guessing who won the weekend, who had a better weekend.
Gotcha.
So you'll be keeping tally of that.
All
Don't
right.
keep tally of your cultural winner.
So
That's
you're
just
not
your opinion.
You're not going to tell me if I get it right or wrong until the end?
No, I'll tell you right or wrong as soon as you guess.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Why would you be writing down answers like,
let's go back and check your answers? Well, that's what I thought I thought you had a red pen out. How far are we going back here?
1982 was the first one.
All right. Reasonable.
But these are all big name movies. These are classic movies.
Is 82 E.T. and something else?
Well, E.T. was in the theater at the same time as these movies. It looks like you know movies. Are you ready for the first one, Mac?
Yeah, lay it on me. Are we going chronologically here?
What's up? Yes, chronological.
Okay.
And then I'll try and do it in alphabetical order based off of the name. I also might not have. I don't know. I forget what I did. It was last Friday. So, Mac, in honor of Barbie v. Oppenheimer, the episode today is movies released on the same day. And the first date on the board is June 25th, 1982. What were you doing on this day?
This was just under 7 years prior to my birth, which means my parents were teenagers, both of them, I think. So I wonder, they were probably doing some stuff they shouldn't have been doing.
Especially your dad.
Yeah, especially my dad.
Can you actually ask your dad after this podcast what he was doing on June 25th, 1982?
I will text you his response.
Okay. The first movie up is Blade Runner.
Ooh, okay.
And The Thing.
So interesting. All right. So horror movies never do well at the theater, but I do know that Blade Runner got more popular as the years went on. It was more of a cult classic than it was a smash success in the theaters. So I think clearly The Thing made more money.
You are incorrect. Mark down one wrong.
Wow, one wrong. Damn.
The Thing lost to Blade Runner. The Thing actually finished 8th in the box office with $3.1 million, finished behind Rocky 3 in its 5th week, The Wrath of Khan in its 4th week, Annie in its 6th week, and Poltergeist in its 4th week. Blade finished 2nd at the box office with $6.1 million, just behind E.T. in its 3rd week at the theater.
Wow. I'm stunned that Blade Runner, you know what? Maybe, what I didn't factor in here is, of course, horror movies were a thing in the early 80s, but Blade Runner's capitalizing on the Star Wars community. That's what I didn't take into consideration. All right, 0 for 1.
Who do you think made more overall at the box office?
Well, if Blade Runner made more initially, Blade Runner had to make more in the long run.
Blade Runner did make more, but it also lost money on its budget. It had a budget of about $30 million, only made 24 at the box office, while The Thing made almost $20 million on a budget of 10 to 15.
Wow, but neither really all that successful when you can. I mean, The Thing doubled up, but still, for movies that are considered all-time greats, and they both.
Yeah, do you think that both of these are top 5 in their genre?
No, not Blade Runner for me. I think you could make an argument for The Thing.
Yeah.
I'm just not a Blade Runner guy, which is really interesting. And I talked about this when Blade Runner 2049 came out. Blade Runner 2049 is one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years, maybe of all time. And I don't even really like the first Blade Runner all that much.
So bigger cultural impact, you're going The Thing?
No, I think Blade Runner has a bigger cultural impact.
Okay.
The Thing is a better movie in my estimation, though. And if you were rating, say, top 10 horror movies versus top 10 sci-fi movies, I might consider The Thing on my list. I probably do have it in there on my list. I wouldn't have Blade Runner on my list.
The Thing is also one of the greatest remakes of all time.
True that. Original 1955, maybe 52?
52 or 55.
Okay.
It was in the first Halloween movie, though.
Yeah, true.
All right, true. Mac, let's go on to June 8th, 1984. I will also ask you at the end, what do you think the best day out of all of these are, by the way? So just kind of try and remember. I'm
jotting some notes. I got some notes.
Okay. So 1984, June 8th, we have Gremlins and Ghostbusters.
Wow. So Gremlins versus Ghostbusters. Well, The Thing was a better horror movie than Gremlins, even though Gremlins isn't an outright horror movie.
Adjacent, but go ahead.
It has comedy involved as well. Ghostbusters seems like the bigger blockbuster, and I'm thinking to like marketing. How do you really market Gremlins? So to me, it's got to be Ghostbusters here.
So Ghostbusters was the higher. Ghostbusters was number one at the box office. Only 13.5 million though. Gremlins made 12.5 million.
Wow, close.
And actually, both of these movies had higher second weeks word of mouth.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Especially Gremlins, since I just said it, you wouldn't really know how to market it. So that would be for sure more of a word of mouth thing.
You market it. It's a movie.
Long run here, especially because Gremlins has some holiday properties. I wonder if Gremlins made more goo.
Is that your guess?
That's my guess.
Yikes, bikes, Mac. Are you stupid?
Wow. Christmas.
Okay, so Ghostbusters ended up making 230 in its original theatrical run.
Oh,
in
I'm way off,
1984. That's amazing.
Massive.
And then also 243 with its extra releases. That's not even including, DVDs, merch, all that crap. And
So-
also only had a budget of $30 million.
I believe that. Yeah. How much did Gremlins end up making? How far off was I?
Not bad, actually. 150 million domestic.
Well, I was 100
on a
million
budget
off.
of 11.
That's for Gremlins. That's incredible. Yeah. Jesus,
Yeah.
10 times its budget.
Way to be Peter Dante right there. Well done. So you are, I think, 2-2 right now. On
Yeah,
there.
2 and 2.
All right, let's go down to a date that I know you love. These two movies are at the top of your list.
Okay.
June 13th, 1986.
Ooh, this has got to be Back to the Future. Or no, Back to the Future was 85.
So you were right with Back. I thought you might have actually guessed this. I'm like, wow, that's amazing that you knew this fucking release date. Back to School, starring Rodney Dangerfield.
Okay. One of my favorites, of course.
Versus Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh. Now this is interesting because Dangerfield is a much bigger name than anyone in Ferris Bueller's Day Off at this time. So opening weekend, I feel like it might have made more, but then Ferris Bueller makes more in the long run. I'm going to go with Back to School makes more first weekend.
Back to School made almost $9 million in its opening weekend versus Ferris Bueller's 6.3. And then what is your guess for overall?
Ferris Bueller must have blown it out of the water. Really?
Back to School. This is only in theaters. And of course, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is like, everyone fucking loves it. Everyone goes nuts for it. Everyone loves that bag of mayonnaise.
So the word of mouth took forever in 86, I guess. People didn't
Back
watch
to
it
School made $91 million at the
Holy
box
fuck.
office on a budget of $11 million. Does that not tell you how much of a star Rodney Dangerfield was?
Yeah.
This movie is just Dangerfield.
Yeah. It also kind of tells you how moronic people were in 1986. Oh, wow. That blows my mind. 91 million is a lot of fucking money for a movie that's okay. It's okay.
I would have it probably top 4 for Dangerfield, but there's so like
it's not
there's
saying much.
No, but there's like a middle of like Dangerfield where like the tops are pretty funny, like really funny movies, and then the bottoms are terrible.
Yes.
Rover Dangerfield, Ladybugs.
How much did Ferris Bueller make in its run?
Just over 70 million.
Wow. So it was more than 20 million off.
Budget of 5 million though, so little ROI.
So that's the one that was like the cult classic that ended up making.
Oh yeah, no, that is. And I'll admit this, I'm not the biggest fan of that movie, but that's a huge movie with everyone still today.
Yeah. So another split here, another 1-1, 3-3 so far.
Let's go on to this next one, July 15th, 1988, just before the birth of our lords. That's us. That's me and you. Die Hard versus A Fish Called Wanda.
Fish Called Wanda is a critical darling. Die Hard, I feel like I've heard too much. See, this almost feels like a trick question. I've heard about Die Hard too much for it to not be. But thinking about all the conversations we've had about Die Hard, some serious doubt around Die Hard heading into this movie because of the actor. No one believed in Bruce Willis. So I'm going to say A Fish Called Wanda made more in its first week.
So you were right when I said it was a trick question, because this is an absolute trick question. Both of these movies were released to limited theaters in its opening weekend.
Yeah.
So in its opening weekend, Die Hard only made $600,000 versus A Fish Called Wanda, which only made $115,000.
Jesus, double.
But
trick
now let's
question.
go to week number 2, where Die Hard, everyone loved it. Everyone's like, this is great, because everyone had action movie fatigue, but this turned it on its head. How the turntables. And its second weekend made $7.1 million. And A Fish Called Wanda did not get a 1,000 theater release until week 5.
Huh. So this is kind of cheating here. You kind of fucked
It is,
me
but
with
you
this
guessed
question.
it. You said this is a trick question.
So Die Hard obviously made way more in its long run. So another 1-1 split here. But you absolutely, Babysitter absolutely fucked me here.
You are correct. Die Hard went on to make $84 million domestic, $141.6 worldwide on a budget of $28 million. A Fish Called Wanda eventually made $60 million.
Listen, just to chime in about Die Hard here. I know I'm not. I've been staunch that Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie, and I will forever maintain.
Are you here to tell me that A Fish Called Wanda is?
However, if you guys remember when we reviewed Die Hard, I like that movie a lot.
Yeah,
it's the first action movie that you can really think of that didn't have this big, massive, muscly guy. It was an everyman as an action hero, and that's why that movie kicks ass.
also the bad guy's dope.
Yes, very true. Shout out Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
All right.
Here we go. Let's go to June 23rd, 1989.
Ooh,
we're both alive.
We're both finally alive.
Kicking. Here we go. We're both at the theater on this opening weekend. Mac, Batman. Batman versus Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Now, one is obviously a much more family-oriented movie, and that's a movie I watched on VHS 100,000 times in the
Might
90s.
have broke the VHS, yeah.
But for that reason, because it was so rentable on VHS, I feel like it maybe didn't make as much money in the box
but hear me
office.
out. Batman also was available at Blockbuster.
Sure, well, yeah,
it wasn't like they're like, you can only see this in theater.
I feel like
Blockbuster will never get this tape.
I feel like with the name Batman and Tim Burton attached to it, that movie had to have made more opening weekend.
That is correct. Batman opening weekend made $40 million. Number one, of course, summer of 1989 was referred to as the summer of Batman. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, though, a Disney movie, did make $14.2 million in its opening weekend. 1-2 at the box office. Mac, who do you believe made more in the long run?
Obviously Batman here. That's an easy one.
250 domestic, 411 worldwide in 1989. On a budget of $35 million. Credit to Tim Burton there. That's pretty good. That's a lot.
Making your full budget back on opening weekend is a hell of a job there. How much did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids make overall?
130 on a budget of 18.
Good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Mac, July 12th, 1991. Where were you?
July 12th, 1991. Great question. Probably raising hell somewhere.
Hell yeah, brother. Short brothers right there. Boyz in the Hood versus Point Break.
Oh, this is a good one. Boyz in the Hood versus Point Break. Boyz in the Hood is a better movie. Point Break is more of a blockbuster, more of a movie that would sell to a wider audience. So I'm going to say Point Break made more opening weekend. Wow.
Boyz in the Hood, $10 million. Point Break, 8.4. Neither won the box office, though. Boyz in the Hood finished third behind T2 in its second weekend. And number one at the box office that weekend was the re-release of 101 Dalmatians. Point Break fourth.
We as a people sucked in 1991. What the
1991,
fuck is that?
not a great year for us. We've already said this. We don't love 1991. It's just funny that the top movie on a good weekend for movies, 101 Dalmatians from 1967 or something.
Listen, I'd say Boyz in the Hood is an all-timer. I wouldn't say Point Break, but to some it is. That's three somewhat all-time. I mean, T2 is an all-time great movie, but that's all-time recognizable movies, and 101 Dalmatians beat all three.
And that's T2 in its second week, so it's not like 5 weeks in.
Fucking insane.
Yes. So who do you think had a better run at the box office domestic?
I'll stick with Boyz in the Hood here since I didn't get it right the first time.
Boyz in the Hood, 57.5 domestic on a budget of 6.5. Ooh, ROI. And then Point Break, 43 domestic, 83.5 worldwide on a budget of 24.
Okay.
Let's move on to just 1 year later. The holiday season. Whoop-de-doo, hibbity-dop. December 11th, 1992. What did you ask for Christmas in 92?
I was probably barely speaking at this point. I'm trying to think. Maybe Teddy Ruxpin. I probably got a Teddy Ruxpin.
Okay. All right. I think I got a Super Nintendo as a family.
Oh,
That was either 92 or 91.
Tough
So
to play as a 3-year-old.
I'm better than you.
I'm smarter than you.
We have the Muppet Christmas Carol versus A Few Good Men.
Is A Few Good Men rated R?
I believe so.
Man, so A Muppet Christmas Carol had to have won opening weekend. Really?
A Muppet Christmas Carol finished sixth with only $5 million. I think this is around the time where people started to get sick of the Muppets.
Okay.
So it finished behind Home Alone 2 in its fourth weekend, The Bodyguard in its third weekend, Aladdin in its fifth weekend, and A Few Good Men in its first weekend at $15.5 million.
That's
A
another.
Few Good Men is a star-studded cast, dude.
Yeah. No, I know. I was thinking, maybe overthinking that one. That is a loaded theater weekend, by the way. All-time theater weekend right there.
Do you think the people that were deciding on which movie to go to were saying, am I a man or am I a Muppet? Am I a
You know what
Muppet?
happened there? Because I didn't have all the context. All the Muppet people went to Aladdin. If you combine Aladdin and Muppet, I would have beat not Die Hard, A Few Good Men.
If I'm a man, then I'm a very manly Muppet. A very manly Muppet. Who do you think had a better run at the box office overall?
Clearly A Few Good Men.
That is correct. 141 domestic on a budget of 41. The Muppets made 27.2 on a budget of 12. But the longer cultural impact?
The one line of "You can't handle the truth" probably.
Yeah, when Gonzo says that to Rizzo. Yeah.
Probably supersedes anything from that Muppets movie.
But it's not that far off, right?
No, it's close.
Because this is kind of a cult Christmas classic now.
Everyone has seen that movie for sure.
All right, let's go on to 1995. What are you doing in 95? November of 95.
I'm probably smashing my ankle with a skip it, playing with loads of Play-Doh. And at 6 years old, I probably was playing Sega Genesis, maybe? What year did the Genesis come out?
Sega Genesis. All right. November 22nd, 1995. On one end, Casino. On the other end, Toy Story.
Oh, so this is interesting because your natural inclination would be Toy Story, but it's the first of the Pixar movies. And I don't know if people would have had faith. And I could also see people, I don't know, because we're just talking about how people are stupid here. People somehow being put off by the animation initially.
It was a little wonky.
I'm going to go Casino here on opening weekend. Fuck
Casino made $10 million. Toy Story, I'll just give you what they made in just the weekend, because Toy Story actually had a 4-day release because it came out on that Wednesday, I believe.
Sure.
As opposed to the Thursday night. It made $29 million over the weekend, 39 overall in the holiday weekend.
Bang. That's a massive weekend. So obviously Toy Story then made more in the long run.
You are correct. Toy Story made, first off, it made another $30 million in week 2, another $20 million in week 9, which is insane. I think that might be like the Christmas week. That might be the reason why, holiday week. And then overall, it made $223 domestic, almost $400 million worldwide on a budget of $30 million.
Toy Story was so successful that they have literally bought themselves 30 years. Now we are getting to the end of the 30 years here where they're going to have to rethink their strategies, because now they're spending $200 million on movies, and now those movies aren't making $200 million.
Casino ended up making 42.5 domestic, 116 worldwide on a budget of 52. Do you think that movie had the issue of being compared to Goodfellas?
For 1,000%, people would say Poor Man Goodfellas, or we've seen this before. Casino is great, though. That movie is great.
No, Casino is great. It's really long, though. Do you think that actually
it is long?
I think they might have had to show it one less time in the theater because of its length.
Well, if you compare it, what's Toy Story? 90 minutes, 95 minutes, 100 minutes compared to Casino's
71 minutes.
3 hours. So
Yeah.
you can show double the amount of Toy Story screenings in the day that you can show of Casino.
Let's move on now to another 1995. It's a hot year
Whoa.
for movies being released on the same day, December 15th, the holiday season. We have Heat.
Okay.
Versus Jumanji.
So if there was some fatigue with Casino, there had to have been massive fatigue with Heat. And Heat, I don't even really like that much. I don't know if anyone does. Please tell me Jumanji made more.
Jumanji made 11 million, number one at the box office, while Heat was second behind. No, I'm sorry, it was third behind week 4 of Toy Story.
Well, look at that. Toy Story still going strong.
Toy Story still hot. Who do you think made more overall?
Oh, Jumanji by a mile.
Jumanji made 100 million and 262 worldwide on a budget of 65 million. Heat did make 67.5 domestic on a budget of 60, so that's actually not very good.
No, it's not.
But you got Michael Mann, Bobby D, Al P.
Bit of a cosmic gumbo.
Let's wrap up the decade. Let's go to 1999, April 2nd. What are you doing in 99 on April 2nd? Pokemon?
Oh, Pokemon all day, all the time. Cards, video games. I was probably still dabbling in some PlayStation games, but no doubt in my mind, I was crushing Pokemon on my Game Boy Color. I initially was a Pokemon Red guy. It got stolen out of my bag at school, at the Lowell School, James Russell Lowell School. And then my mom had to buy me the blue version because I was so jaded about the red version. I was also very deep into Pokemon trading cards at this point.
Did you already have a Masigno?
I'm sure I did. No doubt in my mind I did.
You ain't trying. Masigno is the original slaw.
You're right. Well, the rare candy thing is, yeah. I would say of all the video games I've played, it's not even close that Pokemon Blue is the game I have played most in my life. Just in that year that it came out. I think it came out in 98. Maybe it was 99. I probably played that game over and over. I probably completed that story fucking 100 times that year and probably at least 100 times since.
April 2nd, 1999. 10 Things I Hate About You versus The Matrix.
It's got to be The Matrix. It's got to be.
It's The Matrix. The Matrix made 27.8 million on that weekend, but 10 Things I Hate About You finished second at 8.3.
10 Things I Hate About You is still a very enjoyable watch. It perfectly encapsulates 1999 and high schools like that, although we never even remotely went to a high school that looked like that. But that is like, if you asked me which movie I'd rather watch today, I'd rather watch 10 Things I Hate About You.
Let me ask you, though, who do you think made more with their whole run at the theater?
I bet The Matrix tripled with 10 Things I Hate About You made.
I mean, you're completely off on tripling. The Matrix made 172 domestic, 467 worldwide on a budget of 63. 10 Things made 38 domestic, 53.4 worldwide on a budget of 30.
So it quadrupled?
A lot more. So let's say 467 versus 55. I mean,
oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. 20 times the
7,
amount.
whatever it is.
10 times the amount.
Yeah.
8 times.
Mac, I have one more for you.
Okay. By the way, I'm 13-7 so far. I'm really closing strong here.
That's a good gambling record.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. We're making money.
Here we go, Mac. The final one here is from 2003, November 7th. What do you ask for Christmas? A PS2?
Yeah. Is that the year PS2 came out? 03?
Maybe.
Might have been 02.
Maybe. Might have been 02. Mac, we have 2 Christmas classics.
Elf
and Love Actually.
Love Actually. Shit, that was a very successful movie. And Elf, I feel like, made more money over the long run, and maybe not initially. And Will Ferrell wasn't yet a bona fide movie star. I'm going to say Love Actually made more in the first week. Fuck!
Love Actually only made 6.9 million, finishing 6th behind movies like Brother Bear in its third week, Scary Movie 3 in its third week, and Radio in its third week.
Fucking Radio.
Although
it lost to Radio.
Although it finished second at the box office that weekend, made 32 million opening weekend.
It didn't really that first weekend.
Finishing just behind The
Hmm.
Matrix Revolutions.
Oh boy, that movie is dog shit. Is that the third one?
Yes.
Second one has the best scene out of any of the three, but second and third ones aren't great. Wow, I thought Elf for sure was one that made more in like its third week than its first week. Fuck me.
Who do you think made more overall?
Obviously, Elf.
You're correct. Elf made 178 domestic, 227 worldwide on a budget of 33, while Love Actually went on to make 60 domestic and 245 worldwide. Did I mess
Love
that up?
Actually did well. I'm telling you, that's why I thought it did
Worldwide
well
on a budget of 40. Was it British
rom-
people?
It's a all-time beloved rom-com, even though it's not nearly my favorite.
I'm going to toss this out there. This is the first one I'm not confident about. I feel like I might have messed up.
No,
245 seems high.
Well, it does seem high. It's probably.
Well, actually, no, it makes sense. So it built in its weeks. So week 6, it made 9 million. Week 8, it made 7 million. 8, 6 million.
So it did what I thought Elf did, basically.
Yeah. Okay,
right.
So it built. Oh, and actually, right around Christmas time, it made 11.2.
Makes sense. It is
right.
a holiday, a Christmas themed movie.
So what was your record?
I finished 14-8 here, Goo. Out of the 11 weekends you gave us, 14-8. I didn't really catch stride till halfway through. I was about 50-50 until halfway through.
I'm also, yep.
You surprised me like 6 or 7 times here, though. That's for sure.
I'm also curious for the people that were playing at home, even though I forgot to ask you to play at home. What were your records too? And let me also ask you this, Mac. What weekend pops out to you as the best of the simultaneous release weekends?
So I only forgot to write one set down, which would be June 13th, 86. So we have The Thing and Blade Runner 82. That's going to be a tough one to beat. Ghostbusters and Gremlins, that loses to The Thing. What were the two in 86?
86 was Back to School and Ferris Bueller's.
Yeah, that doesn't win either. Die Hard and A Fish Called Wanda is a great combo, but not as strong as The Thing and
also
Blade
a trick
Runner.
question. So
yeah,
credit to me.
Batman and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
That's a good one, right?
That is a good one because since I don't love Blade Runner, that probably personally would supersede it. But Blade Runner and The Thing is too iconic. Boys in the Hood and Point Break doesn't win. A Few Good Men, Muppets doesn't win. Toy Story and Casino, actually.
That's pretty high.
Give me Toy Story and Casino over The Thing and Blade Runner. I'm not talking monetarily here anyways, but you can give me an answer if that's true. That beats Jumanji and Heat. The Matrix and 10 Things About You were two formative movies of my childhood, but I would still prefer Toy Story and Casino. And because Elf is probably my favorite movie out of all of these, but I don't love Love Actually. I don't actually love Actually. That didn't make any sense whatsoever.
No, can you try that again?
That joke fucking flamed out, crashed.
I can cut that. Don't worry.
Yeah, fix that in post. Give me Toy Story and Casino. That would be September, or what was that?
95.
November of 95.
Yeah. So I'd be between most of these 80s battles, and I think the most balanced is Ghostbusters and Gremlins.
Maybe. I don't know though. So you're just poo-pooing Sharon Stone in Casino then?
I'm not poo-pooing Sharon Stone. I just think that Toy Story walloped Casino overall. Much like I enjoy Batman and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but Batman, with his straight neck and Frankenstein-like body, beat the piss out of what's his name there in the movie.
I think we're answering the question differently here.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got different assignments.
Goo, if we talk about all-time great faps or people that helped us get along on certain days, do we underrate Sharon Stone between Total Recall, Fatal Attraction? That's the one with
she had a great run.
And then Casino.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a 10-year span there where not many people rival her.
All right, guys. So tell us your favorite weekend of movies that were released at the same time. Also tell us, what are you going to see first, Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Oh, hi. It's Goo from the Mac and Goo Movie Club. If you like what you just saw, you can find full episodes of our program on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, CastBox, iHeartRadio, or wherever podcasts are found. And now it's time for girls jumping on trampolines.